Hey everybody, Quantum here, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at 3 matches of the budget $35 Sapphire Steel anti-meta deck. In this first match we're going to be going up against Emerald Amethyst, the next one will be Ruby Amethyst, and the final one will be Amber Steel Song. So 3 very prevalent meta decks. We're going to be on the draw for all of them. And the CPU actually plays these decks kind of well, in my opinion, and you'll see some surprising plays, I guess, that this deck can do to make sure that it doesn't get kind of outrun by these aggressive decks in the format right now. So starting off turn 1, I talked about this in the deck profile where, you know, not having that character on one could hurt you. This deck is definitely stronger on the play than it is on the draw, but I wanted to show you that it can still function on the draw because here you can see with the Tipo, and I've talked about this before in other Sapphire builds, being able to claw back that extra ink will allow us to basically get the on the play advantage, because now we're the ones with the ink advantage. We do have to deal with the board, but once we deal with the board, and this is what the steel portion of the deck is going to be able to do, once we deal with that board and stabilize, we have the on the play advantage, right? Because we're going to be inking the 5th, 6th, 7th ink before the opponent does. So here we're going to slow the opponent down, use the Tipo, and this is where Tipo is good. It's good trading into that Diablo. Yes, the Diablo replaces itself, but you know, the Tipo gets extra value there, clearing a questing threat off the board and ramping you, right? The Tamago here clears off the Tipo, they develop a rabbit, so you know, Emerald Amethyst is good for a reason. They still got 4 cards in hand, and this Hiram doesn't look like it's threatening too much, right? Doesn't matter how many cards you have in your hand if all you're doing is not developing a board and letting your opponent run you over. So we're going to go ahead. I make a mistake here forgetting to quest with the Hiram first for some reason. I thought I already drew, but I drew off the Popsicle, so I realized that after. But I think it was of no consequence because we were probably dropping this Scrooge McDuck anyways. So the opponent doesn't have too many threatening lore characters on board. And this Elsa is not going to be doing anything against this Scrooge being a 5/5 body. And I talked about Scrooge in the deck list kind of being like, you know, he's good, but he's definitely a card on the play that's way stronger than on the draw, and that's why I opted to reduce him down to 2 copies instead of like 3 or 4. Because in this scenario, when again I'm trying to deal with my opponent's board, I've already, like I mentioned, kind of stabilized the ink disadvantage that we were at. I have to use Scrooge as a big body, not as a quester, right? And you definitely want to be using him as a quester, forcing your opponent to trade multiple characters into him because he's such a big body. And you're questing for 2, your opponent's throwing their resources into the Scrooge, and that's where he can be the most beneficial and why he's really good. But here it's the opposite. I have to use my Scrooge as the big body to clear my opponent's board. So hopefully you understand that concept as to why you don't really want to overcommit with these uninkable cards. That can be a little bit risky, but we have a lot of cards in hand, and we have a Fire the Cannons, we have a Grab Your Sword, so we definitely can be able to we definitely are able to do some work. I don't want to use the Grab Your Swords just yet because I want my opponent to commit a little bit more to the board here. We're going to go ahead, play the bow, and you know, we're going to need that for the genie potentially, but we do also play Zeus, so you can see again just a couple of the anti-meta threats that we deploy here. I just use the Fire the Cannons to slow down the questing power of the opponent. I just don't want them to get too far ahead. So they overcommit really badly here, you know, probably not seeing that we have any way to, I mean, if this was a real player, right, not seeing that we have any way to clear this wide board. You know, do you really put us on having a Grab Your Swords? And if you did, would you expect us to be hard casting it? Well, potentially we can draw into a Hercules shift. Unfortunately, we did not. So I am going to have to hard cast the Grab Your Swords, but I'm going to do all my draw stuff first as proper play dictates. And then we're just going to hard cast the Grab Your Swords, clearing off everything except for that Elsa and the White Rose. Now we're going to be able to quest with the Scrooge and the Hercules, and now the Hercules is also protecting the Scrooge, so you can just see kind of how strong this is. A crab on the Elsa would hurt because, I mean, it would just trade out with the Scrooge if they were able to trade White Rose into Hercules and then the boosted Elsa into the Scrooge, but that's still good trades for us. They don't even opt to challenge with the Elsa. They play an Ursula Deceiver, not able to rip anything out of our hands. We still don't need the Imperial Bow here, so you know, no genies on the field. The opponent has no cards in hand, and I've played Emerald Amethyst a lot, and I can tell you this is a scenario that you sometimes run into where you just run out of gas. And against steel decks, like Emerald Amethyst does have a hard time. I've probably played more steel decks with Emerald Amethyst. I don't know if the algorithm is against me or something, but like in online matches. But you can definitely still come out ahead, but this is a scenario that you're going to run into. The steel decks are going to out your board before you can get up to that critical mass of lore, and you know, the deck is still able to push, right? You can see that they're in the double digits. They inked a Clarabelle on the turn before, by the way, and I'm like, no human player would do that, so I wasn't even going to include this match. But then, of course, the CPU, obviously being the CPU, knows it's going to top deck another Clarabelle. They draw 7 cards, so I'm like, holy crap. But at this point, I think I have enough here. Let me see. Quest, yeah, to 17. And then if I just develop a couple of threats, I know the Emerald Amethyst deck has virtually no way to deal with my board. So I think, what do I do here? Okay, Hiram, that's not what I was thinking, but let's see, Inca Tipo, we have 5 ink available. Double Smee is probably what the play is, because even if they had Elsas, they wouldn't have enough to take us out. And I probably should just use the Popsicle to heal the Scrooge, because why not at this point? They have to have answers for this double Smee. You can see that they end up going wide off of that draw 7 off the Clarabelle, so kind of insane ending to this match, but it's just not going to be enough to deal with the Smees. And you can see the Gontu really closing the gap, and I've talked about this in the deck list, right? Being able to, that 4 lore, just close the gap so quickly. You know, not playing Baymax being a budget deck, we don't have any like non-questing sources of lore, so we do really have to rely on questing, but we were able to take that one thankfully, which is kind of scary given that they got the Clarabelle off. All right, in this next one, we're going to be on the draw against Ruby Amethyst, and this, I think this was like more of a shark-oriented build, but when you're going up against Ruby Amethyst, what you have to be very mindful of is the Flynn Rider. There's been builds that are using like the Moana 1-drop, that's a 3/2 body, because that's very good with Flynn, and then they play Flynn on 2, and then a Sisu on 3. So they have multiple ways to trigger Flynn if you don't have at least a 3-strength character, and this is why you have to make sure into this matchup, like a Mr. Smee is really valuable here, right? You don't want to play Tipo here, because then the Flynn would trigger, and then if they follow up with a Sisu, you should hopefully, I mean, the smash isn't going to be enough here, right? Unfortunately, because Sisu's an X and 4 body. And the Flynn Sisu combination is like really strong on the play because you have the extra card, which gives Sisu the extra point of strength. It's just like really tough for you to deal with overall. I think you just have to let the Flynn trigger once or twice, but you could always smash the Flynn. That's what I was going to say before I kind of got off track there. So even if they play the Sisu, you're not going to smash Sisu because it only deals 3, but you smash the Flynn. So that's why, you know, smash is kind of good. And I think I just smashed the Flynn there to be following up on what I just said there. The opponent hurting there, right? Running out of cards, having to hard cast that friend on the other side. We cleared their board off, and this is where, again, a deck like Sapphire Steel, a budget deck like this, can actually, I mean, I'm not saying it's the best deck in the world, right? It's a budget deck, but like, it can still hang. You still have ways, like the way that you built this deck, and it took me a little bit of testing here, but you can see the way that I built this deck is to really counteract the on the draw disadvantage that you have. So you have like Tipo to gain back the ink advantage. You have cards like Smash and stuff to offset the opponent's strategy. Here they end up having another Flynn with a Sisu, so I'm like, yeah, nothing I can really do there. If I had a Zeus, that would be really nice, or another Smash or a Fire the Cannon. So again, we have a lot of different outs. Even a Grab Your Swords at this point, right? Because we'd be on 5 ink. Oh, I do have the Zeus. What am I saying? There we go. Okay. So yeah, just Zeus the Sisu away. And I mean, because I have a Hero on board, I have the Fortisphere in hand. So okay, I'm gonna opt to get my big questers on board now before the Be Prepared comes in. Because I have the Fortisphere in hand, I think I should have quested with the Smee and healed it with the Popsicle. They brawl away my Hiram anyway, so like again, I just lose out on a turn of questing there. So yeah, that's really unfortunate. They have another Sisu, and I'm like, okay, how much do I commit here? I don't want to play into the Be Prepared, so I'm really trying to think here. Do I just hard cast the Zeus so I can play the Fortisphere first? Popsicle, pop, heal the Smee, quest with Smee, quest with Scrooge, just Zeus away the Sisu, prevent the quest 2. The opponent has 2 cards in hand. Okay, I have the superior board state. Don't pass. I should definitely heal. Yeah, okay, I was about to say. I'm calling out plays for myself post match. Okay, ink the Hercules and pass. So we have Jim on the follow-up, which is a 2-quester. The Elsa comes down here and does nothing, so I'm like, okay, great, no Be Prepared, that's fine. Well, I guess the Elsa takes out the Smee, which is still kind of bad. So wasted Popsicle there, but I mean, nah, I'd force the Elsa to interact. I don't want to play this Gontu. I will commit the Hiram, which again is risky, right? But Hiram into Ruby Amethyst, they have all the answers for it anyways. You know, Maui's when it's exerted. Well, they don't play small Sisu, but like brawls and stuff like that is really bad into it. I opt to use my Fire the Cannons here, just, you know, giving the opponent more incentive to drop that Be Prepared. I do have... Did I ink the Gontu? Why would I ink the Gontu? That doesn't make any sense. I should have definitely not inked that Gontu. I guess I was trying to like get a couple of plays in there, but yeah, that inking of the Gontu doesn't make any sense here. The bow coming into play, giving Scrooge the evasive ability, being able to take out the Elsa, and then it will be able to take out Genie next turn. Never mind, I'm going to opt to use it. Because I'm ahead in the lore count now, I guess it makes sense. I draw into another Gontu. Man, I play it really risky in this game. I probably wouldn't do it. Do not drop the Gontu. Nope, definitely do not drop the Gontu. We drop the Jim instead. Okay. They play Rabbit, and I'm just like, yeah, where's the Be Prepared? Sing Friends. Okay, so now they got 5 cards in hand. This is getting kind of scary now because, yeah, you can see like the threat of Be Prepared, like, and this is what I talked about in the deck profile, like playing into Ruby decks. The threat of the Be Prepared has caused me to really play more passively, and then my opponent can overextend onto the board, knowing that I have to constantly answer their board if I, you know, want to kind of stay in the game. And as a result, you know, they can just hold up Be Prepared until I end up overcommitting, and then they can be prepared and stabilize, right, when they have card advantage. So I use Jim with the bow to take out the Genie, and I continue to quest, keep drawing off of here. I mean, this is the great synergy, right? You guys can see the Imperial Bow, like getting the double value off that Imperial Bow, getting the ability for Evasive and Challenger 2 to take out the threat, and then using it as hero fodder. The opponent does drop double Genie here, and again, you know, they're going wide on their board, and I'm like, well, I have to commit resources into this now. I can't let these like double Genies and this Sisu continue to quest. So I hard cast one Grab Your Swords, and then I sing the other one with Jim. So again, feels really bad, but it does wipe out their whole board, I believe. Yeah, and then I will be able to quest with the Scrooge. And at least right now, like the Be Prepared will cost them 7 ink. So yeah, CPU doing CPU things, playing the Diablo so they can draw. That's a sign of desperation if a real player does that. But on the follow-up, this is really strong because basically they need another Be Prepared. Medusa won't take out this Gontu, so this is where like a follow-up play into Ruby decks is really good. And this Gontu is going to be able to do so much work. They got Goat and Snake, and we know they have Goat in hand, and then I think a mystery and 2 mystery cards now. The Gontu, this is where it can be a little underwhelming, and where maybe playing some bodyguards, like I mean the Hercules bodyguard here helps, is really nice because this Gontu gets traded up by Mim Fox, gets traded up by Mim Snake, but with the Hercules, it puts them on, you have to go into the Hercules first, right? And you can argue you could play Pluto in this deck as well, another great budget option. But yeah, the opponent has a second Be Prepared, and Ruby Amethyst decks, usually they're on 2 or 4 Be Prepareds. So, you know, seeing 2 there, I think this version was on 4, but I'm like, okay, I'm feeling pretty good. Fire the Cannons away, their follow-up. Chernobog, we know they have a Goat in hand. Drop the Hercules, again, not Medusa-able, not Big Sisu-able. You basically need another Be Prepared. Okay, Elsa works there as well to kind of check me. But I will be exerting the Hercules. Don't shift. Yeah, just drop the second Hercules. They need another Be Prepared here. Otherwise, yeah, they're cooked because the resist 2 on this Hercules, okay, they have a crab, but still, they can't out my readied Hercules, and we were able to still take that game against Ruby Amethyst. Kind of intense, though, right? Like, you know, and then, yeah, they have the big Sisu in hand. It does nothing against us, so... Yeah, on to the last to be map. Fair, and no offense to anybody, but sometimes I would say the CPU makes even better plays than some human players, but one of the reasons I never really showcase myself against Amber Steel is because, at least for the song version, I don't think the CPU plays this too well. However, in this match, they actually did play it well, which is why I opted to include it here. So turn 1 Cindy, you know, we don't have to worry about Storm Rage or anything like that. They still sing with the Cindy's to get the free card draw, getting resist on the Cindy as well. Not that that really matters too much. I mean, I guess it does. It prevents us from firing the cannons away the Cindy. And then turn 2 Smee. So this is like ideal start for Amber Steel Song in my opinion, right? Cindy into Smee. We're going to drop Tipo to again claw back that ink disadvantage, and if the opponent does have a whole new world play, you know, dumping our hand faster, converting it into ink is always nice. But yeah, they do have the Storm Rage, which again is just free card draw for them, getting our Tipo off the board, and then developing another Smee and a Simba. So this was Frank Karsten's build of Amber Steel Song, so it's very, very strong and very oppressive right away, you can see. I have a couple of decisions to make here. I would have loved to have the Jim shift line here. The Pete I want to keep for potentially stopping the plan of a whole new world. But I do have to slow the opponent down here. They're going to Rapunzel draw 1 to heal up to Smee. and they just have a lot of pressure on board, right? This Rapunzel is another 2 lore. They're going to go up to 8 lore this turn, and I just have to start clearing their board, and these Smees are a problem. Drawing into a Grab Your Swords would be really nice here, but you can't wish for that. It's a 2 of in a 60 card deck, but a Grab Your Swords would literally wipe out everything except for the Rapunzel. We drop the Pete, which is fine because I have 5 ink, so I can also develop the Smee, and then I'm going to have to use my Hercules, and the reason I take out the Simba there is because I'm fearful of the Simba shift. I'm locking them out of songs for this turn, and I'm just going to have to eat, them going to 15 basically, which is crazy. Like, could you imagine if Amber or Steel gets non-questing sources of lore? Like, they have Baloo, but like, look how oppressive this deck is, like, on the play. It's absolutely crazy. But yeah, so yeah, the CPU is playing this deck, I think, kind of well, but they do skip an entire turn there as I say that, so you're making me eat my words a little bit. Do they have really no play? I mean, sometimes Amber Steel is like that, to be honest. So we're going to start off by Hiram, draw 2. We get another Smee and a Popsicle. I think I have to develop threats. So I ink Azurite Sea, and it's maybe worth dropping the Gym here, actually. Yeah, I don't know. I think the Smee should definitely take out... I was gonna say, okay, no, I'm gonna opt to try to keep the Hercules. So I'm gonna trade the 3/3 bodies for those 2 Smees. So I could have kept my Smee by challenging into the Cinderella, and then Smee would only take 1 more damage at the end of the turn. But I'm opting to keep my Hercules for a potential shift. They hard cast a whole new world, and I think they discarded 2 songs. So I guess, yeah, they didn't really want to play that last turn. The hardcast Whole New World here, though, is not necessarily all that bad considering they're at 15 lore. They just need to flood the board, and they can probably win the game. Now that this Rapunzel is exerted, though, I do have a Hercules shift. I lose my Popsicle, which is really hurtful. So it's almost like the CPU knew how to counteract me there, which is unfortunate. But yeah, we're going to ink the bow since, again, we don't really need the evasive or challenger ability. We're going to shift Hercules, take out the Rapunzel. We don't take any damage because it resists 2. Quest with the Smee, let them go to 16 or to 17 if they have the Simba shift. Oh, no, okay, perfect. Yeah, take it out with the Fire the Cannons. And we have the Zeus follow-up play to take out the threatening card that they might develop next turn. Okay, never mind. They play a Pete. So, yeah, always have to be wary of the Pete just coming in and locking up a game. Thankfully, they don't have another character to drop along with it as they Storm Rage away my Smee. We're only on 3 lore, though, so... Again, this is where the CPU maybe makes some questionable decisions. Like, if you had another character, you probably opt to play it here because you're protected by the Pete this turn. We can't smash, so I'm going to ink that because the big play next turn will be the Grab Your Swords and or Simba. So I can, like, Simba and sing Grab Your Swords. I drop my own Pete, though, to lock him out of song so I can set up for the Simba play next turn. And I'm just going to go super wide on this board, because between the Simba and the Grab Your Swords, I am planning to absolutely clear out the opponent's board no matter what they drop here. So they trade Pete into the Hercules, so never mind. I can't sing the Grab Your Swords anymore. And they drop a Cinderella along with the Simba. So, okay, we're going to go ahead, draw 1, and then probably quest with Hiram, see what we draw. Nope, sing with Hiram, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Just clean up the opponent's board. I don't need the card draw right now. So yeah, this was a better play in the moment now that I think about it, because then I fall because I can't sing the Grab Your Stars. Not that I would want to with a small board like that. Singing the Zeus to out the ready Simba and then dropping my own Simba in order to take out the Cinderella was definitely the right play there, I think. And now at this point, it took a while, but we've stabilized. They hard cast a whole new world again. So again, not things that you would really expect to happen. Maybe once in a game, but definitely not twice. They lose a Simba and a Mr. Smee. Play a Simba and an Ariel and pass turn. We've got Fire the Cannons, but we lose our Grab Your Swords here, which is unfortunate. We're going to Hiram Quest, and that gives us another Grab Your Swords and a Jim Hawkins. I think I can afford to hardcast this Jim and then put 1 damage on Ariel. I've seen them go through 2 or 3 Simbas now, so if they're on 4, that is kind of a risk, but I can afford to just go wide and take out the Singer. If they have Simba shift, it doesn't do anything here because they can't go for game, so I just quest out here, put myself on. My board is so wide, like, unless you can answer multiple threats, I win the game next turn. because I have 6 lore, but just the last 3 characters are in the Simba, the Jim Hawkins, and the Scrooge. But yeah, they don't have anything. So we're going to be able to take this one next turn by just questing with our team here. And yeah, I mean, in a more competitive setting, on the draw, your matches are always going to be hard. But, you know, you definitely do have some options in order to clawback advantage like I demonstrated here. So again, if you made this far in the video, thank you again for watching. Quantum is out.